Welcome back to another episode of the Cyber Queens, where we are trying to inspire you, Gen Z, to help us close this gender and minority gap that we have in cyber. We are, of course, your Cyber Queens. My name is Meryl Vernon. I am an ethical hacker and red teamer, and generally all things offensive, emphasis on the offensive. Erica?
My name is Erica Eakins, and I say on every episode that I'm the slightly technical salesperson in the cyberspace, but I'm just going to say I'm technically F, and let's do this.
Yeah, girl.
I would agree.
And I'm Natalie Baker. I am all things blue team. And today we have...
Hi, I'm Molly Rhoads. I am a security operations control analyst, and I'm also part of Gen Z. So,
excellent. And that is so crucial because today, on this episode of the Cyber Queens, we are going to be talking about Gen Z, your strengths and weaknesses, and how we think those could play a part in the cyber landscape. We just want you to know, first of all, before we start off this episode, we do love you. We are inspired by you. We're happy to have you here with us. We love so much about your generation, but there are some things y'all suck at. There are some things you rock at and some things you guys just want to step all over other people on, and we're here to address that. So first of all, we're going to discuss how, when millennials came into the workforce, we kind of asked for certain things. We started making small requests and asking for certain, better work-life balance, unlimited PTO. We see a lot more now than we used to, rather than accruing PTO, things like that. But there are definitely a lot of things that we asked for that we did not get. And millennials were okay with that. We kind of let it go. But Gen Z does not let it go. Gen Z, I feel like, comes in and they make very bold asks and they stick by those guns, but they can come off as a little entitled. Would you ladies agree?
A little?
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes.
yeah, I will agree with that. At times we do act a little bit entitled, but it does come out of a place of self-worth. So you have to, it's difficult to balance the idea of working as a team versus working to do what's best for yourself. So sometimes it does come off as entitled, and we got to work on that as a generation.
And we say that all the time. We say, they know what they want, they know what they're worth, they know what they're willing to put up with, and they will just walk off of your job rather than put up with your BS. But it's important to maintain those tactful attitudes and like to fight for yourself in an advocate way and not in a whiny way, which is something we all aim to do as well. I don't know. Molly, what would you say from your perspective is something your generation rocks at and something your generation maybe could do some work on?
Well, I feel like as a generation, we know exactly what we want. Like, we're in a position that we're the first generation born after the tragedy of 9/11. And so we've grown up in that world. Like, it's kind of driven by fear and distrust and everything. So we've grown up under that umbrella and we see it happening around us. And we're the first, line of defense almost, because as the youngest generation, we can make that change. And I feel like a lot of us are taking up that mantle very well and very strongly as seen in the past. So it's definitely a generation that's focused on forward thinking and very change driven.
Mm-hmm. We definitely agree. I think we've seen that from a lot of angles.
I think a lot of people forget that a lot of Gen Z, they don't know the pre 9/11 world. They were never there in the pre 9/11 world. They literally did not exist back then. So it can be insightful that they literally did grow up in a fear-driven world. They were also the .com era. Everything's online. So they're not necessarily going out and playing as much because society is not great anymore. It's not a good place. It's not very safe for kids to go outside and play as much.
Right.
So they're playing on their tablets. They're more introverted. They're more in tune with people that are online and communicating through social media, not necessarily communicating face to face.
That's so true. I feel like if I let my kids go do the things my parents used to let me do, I would get arrested for negligence nowadays. You let them play outside. What are you thinking?
Yeah.
No, it is.
You use the street lights?
Yeah, come home when the street lights are on.
Yeah, that was never me.
Yeah,
that was never me. I remember the very first time that I was allowed to ride my bike around the neighborhood block and come directly home. I was 12 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I was doing that at 8.
I get it. It was just normal.
I get it from a parental perspective, but you're right. I didn't think about the socio effects that would have on you guys. You guys are naturally more introverted. We need to keep you inside. If we have to clean, we need to keep you near us, which fosters like less independence and more like do what I say and stay near me and I'll think for you because you just want to run out into the world and it's scary out there. I didn't even think about that.
Right.
But Gen Z is the first for so much. They're the first ones to grow up completely technical. They're the first ones to grow up in a world where they didn't know that there was no internet, right? Their world has always had it.
They didn't know dial-up, the pain of dial-up ever.
AOL dial-up.
Or MySpace. They never had to build a MySpace.
Yep.
No, you never did that. So you guys truly are the first to do so much and experience so much and come with a unique perspective. That is one of the things I love about Gen Zers so much. Like, honestly, the first thing I saw it with was fashion. Like, the first change I saw was like Gen Z was like, we're not going to wear skinny jeans. That style is uncomfortable. Comfy. We want stuff to be baggy. And we as a generation have agreed to make this shift until the designers had to get on board and like cater to that demographic. And I was like, I'll hop on board. I like comfy. I still have my skinny jeans. I still wear them. But I did convert. You guys converted me. You got me. You converted me.
One of my favorite things about Gen Z is they're bold AF. They're bold.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like that, and like a lot of people hate that, but I love that about them because they're not afraid to ask for what they want. They know what they want, and they do whatever they want. If you're not going to give them the work-life balance, they're not going to say. If you're not gonna, they're not going to be afraid to tell you as their employer that you need to do this or I'm out the door.
I love that they're bold. Both of my kids are Gen Zs. I have a 21-year-old and a 16-year-old. Honestly, they have changed a lot of the ways that I think, even as a millennial parent. However, I love Gen Z, but one of the things that I see way too often, and I don't mean to be the negative Nancy here, you come out of college or high school thinking you're going to make the salary that I make after 12 years of being in IT, which is 6 figures. You might do that in cybersecurity. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but in general, you don't go from high school to 80,000 or high school to 100,000. That's one of the downfalls of the Gen Z. They are very bold. They are very in your face. I love them because I've learned a lot from Gen Z, like I said, because of my kids. But one of the downfalls, we have to talk about this because as a senior level person in the industry, I cannot stand that somebody just used my name to try to get the same level sales role that I have worked 12 years to get, who is way less experienced because they changed the title on their LinkedIn.
Can I say something in our defense on that one?
Yes.
So
yeah.
So
Please
in high school, they always told us like we got like general salary figures for like what field you want to go into. It's always rounded out and it's always this and that. But nobody ever told us really that like starting out, you will make a lot lower than this. So everybody just has this mindset of like, oh, I'm going to go into technology. I'm going to make 6 figures. So nobody really instructed us from high school. And even in college, nobody really talks about, okay. So there is this mindset of like things that people have talked about in high school and things that people have talked about in college, that flat rate is like starting. Like nobody talks about how you have to work up to that. Nobody talks about how there needs to be 5+ years in the field in order to reach the target salary. Everyone's just like, this is the target salary. This is the target salary. And that's what we just think. So I feel like when people come into a role of employment and they're thinking, oh, I'm going to make 6 figures. And somebody's like, you're not going to make 6 figures. We, as a very bold generation, are like, what the heck do you mean we're not going to make 6 figures? This is what I've been told my whole life. And through all of our research online, it's like tech positions make 6 figures and like teacher salaries are like around 40K. Like that's just the expected. And like, yeah, it's pretty much just the expected rate. So when somebody tells you, no, that's not how it is, it's a shock factor for us. And we deal with shock very loudly. So I mean, as a generation,
this is my shock face. This is not my shock face. Yeah. I do just want to say for the audience, we did go over debunking salary expectations and diving into that a bit more in episode 5. So if you are interested in a bit more around the salary topic, please go back to episode 5 and listen to that one. But go ahead and continue.
I was gonna say, we did talk about this in another episode, but on the flip side of me saying that Gen Zs have this expectation, you come into the technology field, it's an entry-level role, and they want 7 years of experience and all this stuff that it's impossible for you to get at entry level. So we talk about that in another episode, but it is a problem. Like nobody tells you these expectations. You guys know how expensive everything is and what you need to live, you know, in the world that's changing every day. So yeah, I think that's also a problem, you know, from the school level and just the industry overall. But I love that it's so in your face and it is expected, because you as Gen Z, you are so far advanced with technology. You grew up with an iPad, with an iPhone, with, you know, we had cassette tapes. You guys barely had the DVDs in your life. It's all streaming, and the technological advancement that the Gen Z has, it does scream that you're worth more, and you guys know that. My daughters, they know, you know, how to fix stuff on Facebook that I don't even think about or even care about. Now, that's a totally different topic because that's social media, but they come and they teach me stuff, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm in technology and I don't even know that. And I'm not even that old. You know what I mean? So like, I love that Gen Z is so advanced, but I think the workplace, they're going to have a really hard time with that, because we've talked about this in other episodes. They can't keep up with you. Mm-hmm. They are not ready for you. And then the generation after you, which, you know, will probably be your kids, Molly, Gen Alpha, they're really not going to be ready for that. So you guys, yeah, go ahead.
Can I say something to this? Like, here's the thing. Millennials, if you're lazy, you're not going to keep up with Gen Z, because Gen Z is not lazy. Like, if you're a lazy millennial and if you're not confident, then like that's your problem. That's not their problem. And they're going to tell you that. And I agree with them on that. Like, if you're going to be lazy and you're not confident and you're not ready to move up, there's going to be Gen Zs that are moving up past you, and they're going to far surpass you really quickly, because they're quick, they learn, they're like sponges, they soak in everything, they're so coachable. Like we say that, like, hey, one of the weaknesses is that you guys have your you have your head in the clouds, but at the same time, if you go and you work with them and you really mentor them, it's not going to be like, I'm telling you what to do, but if you mentor them and take that time and help them, not just on a professional level, but like help them know things that you wish you had known when you left high school, kind of ordeal. Right. Like, I wish I knew a lot about building credit back then. I've worked with people with building their credit, helping them know that that's something that you have to focus on. It's those kind of things that take that extra level, and it really just helps them feel like they're important and they're contributing something and that you see their value.
Yeah. And you know what? That mindset in boomers and Gen Xers is what made it possible for people like us, millennials, to advance faster and quicker than they did. Because again, they're like, you know, I'm not learning the cloud. I'm done. If you want someone to do the cloud, get someone who wants to learn it. And they did. And we're sitting here like, we could learn that in our sleep. I could learn that plus CDN plus Kubernetes in my sleep and be a full, well-rounded, full stack cloud expert tomorrow. So that's what made it possible for people like me to achieve the success that I have in a very short amount of time, because other people just aren't willing to do it. And I am, but that is going to be a problem for lazy millennials as well, as Gen B is a force to be reckoned with when they enter the workforce. And I just got to say, from a millennial perspective, I love how Gen Z, like when you guys do experience that sticker shock, like you were saying, Molly, in an interview, where you're like, oh, my reality does not meet my expectation. Yeah. Like millennials would be like, oh, okay, no problem. That's fine. I'll just take whatever you're willing to give me. I'm just happy to be here. And you guys are like, this isn't BS. No, like you guys react out loud.
I love that.
And you demand more. Yeah, you demand more. You don't just let managers get away with this stuff. You're like, well, why then? Let's talk about it. Yeah. And to that point, because you grew up technological, because you're the .com era, you didn't just start learning this stuff in high school when we did. So for us, that might have been when we entered the workforce 8 or 9 years ago. You've been doing it since you were 2. My 4-year-old can unlock my phone and get to videos she wants to watch, which is abhorrent and great. I hope she's a hacker one day. But, you know, so it's like, you're like, I've literally been doing this since I was born. Literally all 22 years of my life, I've been doing this. So you're going to pay me for the 22 years of experience and familiarity I have with technology, which enables me, like Natalie said, to absorb additional technological material very, very quickly. You want me to be an expert in that tomorrow? Fine, I'll be an expert in that tomorrow. No big deal. So you can demand more than we were able to demand, because the learning curve is totally different. And that's something managers don't realize. There's already, as y'all know, Natalie and Erica know, the unrealistic expectations of job descriptions in cyber is a freaking pandemic of its own. And you know, it's one of those things where it's like those standards are going to change. Like a Gen Zer will enter with 7 years of experience hacking Linux platforms because they've been doing it for 7 freaking years already for free, for fun.
Yep.
So yeah, we're going to see a major shift, I think. I think that's coming. It's coming in the next 2 to 3 years. We're going to see it happen very soon.
And to add to that, like if you're managing a bunch of Gen Zers, like you're gonna have to approach management a lot differently because of that. Like because they are going to want more. They are going to want to use their PTO. They are going to prioritize their mental health. And I think that's excellent. Like we need to be more proactive with our mental health in this country and in every country, I feel. And Gen Z says, no, that's not good for my mental health. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm moving on.
Love that about y'all.
And I love that because millennials are like, you can work us to death. Sure. We'll work for nothing. Sure. Like you can work us to death. And Gen Z is like, no, I want my PTO. No, I'm taking vacation and I'm not looking at my machine. And I'm like, yeah. And to manage that, you literally have to think what kind of, like, if you're working all these hours and you're working overtime as a millennial and you're the manager, what kind of example are you setting for your subordinates? Because you should be leading by example.
And Natalie's a great manager, so Natalie would know. One of the managers be like, you got Slack on your phone. I know you're on PTO. And Gen Z be like, no.
Right? I love that.
No.
I'm over here like, I'm a millennial. I'm over here like, yep, it's Sunday at 6 a.m. Oh, your network's down. Let me get your support person on the line. I'm the salesperson. Gen Zers will not deal with that. And here's something that I want your feedback on, Molly. So one of the reasons that Cyber Queens exist is because there needs to be more women in cyber. But that's not the topic I want to beat dead, because we all know that. The topic I want to beat dead is companies are now finally, after the last 2 years of the pandemic and all the social justice things that have been going on, they're now saying we need diversity and inclusion teams, like a chief D&I officer, and we need this and we need that. And yes, we're going to hire you because you're a woman, not because you're good at what you do or like just because you're a woman. But with that, in the executive level, you still see the same old white guys. I mean, there's women, but you see the same old white guys. Maybe you'll see an African-American every once in a while in that setup. But in your opinion, my question, it's a explanation and a question. How does that look to you when you come to a company that says, yes, we have this D&I person, we have diversity, we care about this, but you see all white older men as the executives? Please talk about that, because I would love to hear it.
Oh, honestly, okay. So if I come to a company and I see that it's still run with just old white guys, I immediately discredit their claim for diversity. Like, honestly,
told y'all.
It's just ridiculous, because when you go to a company and they're trying to preach like, oh, we're different, we're new, and we can evolve very well, and then you see the same old shit time and time again, it's disappointing. And you're like, you're a bunch of liars, because we have grown up under like a bunch of distrust, and like we can't like take anything at its word. We grew up online. Like anything you see online, you can't take it at its word, because it could be
investigate.
Yeah, you have to investigate everything. So when I come to a company and they're like, we're so diverse, come work for us, this is amazing. And I see that same panel of older generation, just white dudes. I'm like, you are not diverse at all. Where is it? Where'd it go?
Well, and I am not, my question was not to bash, or discredit any of the executives in this field or any field. So I just want to say that, Cyber Queens, we're not here to bash men, but I want you to hear from a perspective of a Gen Z that when you say you have culture, when you say you have ping pong and beer, that attracted to the millennials, you have a game room. But then when you have D&I and you have a whole team that's dedicated to D&I, but you don't have any women in management, any women in senior management, any minorities, anything. It's still the same look as the older white man. It is a problem that we have to address. And one of the things that I'm super passionate about is, okay, yes, you might be a tech startup that came out of Israel, but look at their board, look at their VPs, look at usually if they're a startup, they don't have a board yet, but they have investors. But look at their executives. To a Gen Z, and I know this from my daughter, they can look up, or my daughters, they can look it up online. So don't gaslight them. And how is that person going to feel coming in when, you know, their current events are what's going on in the world? You know, what's going on in Ukraine is actually their daily news, or, you know, diversity and fighting for things, you know, and just, it is a problem that we need to fix. And you guys, as companies and organizations, will have these issues. As sales in cyber, there is a lot of women in IT, but in cyber overall, the problem that I see is frontline management all the way up to mid to senior to executive is still the same faces.
Even at the technician level. I was on a red team of 8 people, not a pen testing team, a dedicated red team, and I was, of 8 people, the only female. Like, I knew that coming in. I was like, I know I'm going to be the token female pretty much wherever I go at this stage in my career.
And it's the same for me too. And in the other side of it, like, I was the only woman that was technical in my company for 3 years, like 2 years. And then I got hiring power and I was like, let's get some women around here. Like, we need more women around here. Yeah. And like, it has just changed the whole workplace so much.
And just to bring it full circle back to the original point. So like Gen Z as the first truly global generation, like we've said it before, you know, global news isn't distant news for them. If it's happening in Africa, it's not like it's displaced for them. That all of that is close to their heart. All of that is close to their fingertips. They experience all of that like it's affronting them personally. And they grew up with diversity. They don't see the differences a lot of times. So it's not like a initiative they expect to see reactively started to address this new problem. It's like, if you just don't have it built in, and you can tell you don't have it baked in because they look at the company roster and they don't see the diversity already. Like, my sister works in data science and she was going to take a director level position with a startup. And she was like, I don't know though. I might not take it. I'm like, ooh, why? She's like, because they have a DEI board, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And like, I don't see any diversity in their employees on LinkedIn. And that tells me that they don't take it seriously. And I don't know if I can work for them. I'm like, and she's a millennial. Well, she's a zillennial. So a millennial who thinks more like a Gen Zer. So she's my younger sister. Millennial. So I'm like, you're going to turn down a job making this much money and doing all these things and having your first director level position because of the DEI board? She's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. Oh, obviously. Yes. Okay. So like, it's that important. It's that important. And it's true. And often, actually, at the insurance company I used to work at, the first time there were layoffs due to the income from the pandemic, the income limit, half of the management that was released, or of the management that was released, it was like half the management, 80% of that was women. So they had some women managers, but then they released them all. And I work for a startup now, you know, we have like fewer than 30 employees and there's only like 5 women of that 30. And I'm the only technical one. Everyone else is working in a different function. We hired one SaaS GE lady. So we've got another technical lady now. But like, I told my company, I'm like, you know, we're hiring for a few new positions and it would be really nice. He's like, I know. We're a ton of dudes. He was like, at first we had to hire for skills and just, we went to the people we know and we poached from other companies and like, they're all dudes. He's like, but we want to be intentionally diverse with these new positions. We really do. So thank you for not bringing us more white dudes, because all of my referrals were not white dudes. They literally said, thank you for referring us, not more white dudes. And I was like, you're welcome.
Well, at least they're self-aware.
I do want to make a point that like diversity is not just men, women. You're looking at ethnicity, you're looking at neurodiversity now. There's so much more to diversity than just, you know, are you like the normal stereotypical diversity inclusion. And it makes it for a better workplace, because everybody, the day you walk into a workplace that is diverse, every single person in there is just so welcoming. Because they know what it's like to be the outsider.
And I just want to point out, we know that we, the Cyber Queens, are a bunch of white chicks. We're working on it. Okay? We're working on getting some
for real.
More people in here. We promise we are.
Yes.
So that irony has not escaped our notice. If you're about to comment that in the comments, we're aware.
Yes, we're aware, and we're whiteies. It's all good, but you'll see through our guests and everything in the future, it's gonna grow. One last thing I want to ask Molly. So, Gen Z, what do you look for at a company besides just the board? What is one of the first things that catches your eye? Because I want to see where you guys sit.
What do you prioritize? What do you value?
Yeah. What's your priority?
Mental health. Above all else is mental health, because we
Called
grew up
it.
online. Yeah. No, we grew up online, and I mean, TikTok is a really big platform now. Like it or hate it, it's massive. So, and on there are so many different perspectives and so many different like advocates for mental health and safety and knowing your worth and taking care of yourself first and foremost. Because if you don't take care of yourself, how are you going to make a difference to the company? How are you going to do your best performance? How are you going to work hard if you are struggling in your own mind? So seeing a company that makes that as a priority, like, yes, if you need a mental health day, take it. If you think that this is too much stress in your life, we can accommodate that. Like, just seeing a company that actually takes the mental health of its employees like into genuine consideration, not just saying they do, but actually practice what they preach. That is a massive, massive bonus for a company. And the same in reverse. If there is no evidence that mental health matters, I probably wouldn't go there, to be completely honest. Like, I don't care how much they would pay me. If they would work me to death and not like see that I am a person and a person with needs and I need my health to be my priority, then I'm probably not going to want to put my time in for them as I would a company that actually makes me feel cared for and that I matter.
It's so weird. People will self-start. People will like willingly work themselves to death. You don't have to do it to them. They'll do it to themselves because they're like, my manager really needs this and I love my manager and I don't want him to be screwed. So I'm going to get this done tonight at 2 a.m. Like it's true. Like you will. And when I was evaluating this company, I didn't just take the marketing pitch that the founders gave me. I reached out to people at the technician level. And I said, day to day, do you like your job? Do you like the company? Do you like the management? Like, I'm a single mom. If I need to step away to get my kid from school, if I need to like do 1,000 dentist appointments and PCP appointments, like it's just me. I'm a single parent. There is no one else to do it. Like, I don't want to feel bad about that. Would they be accommodating of that? And everyone was like, oh yeah, I love management. They inspire me so much. I'm like, okay, great. But I'm going to get it from the horse's mouth and not just take their word for it.
Of course.
So
yeah.
For sure.
And let me ask you another question. So when you see a company offers unlimited PTO, because there's a lot of discussion around how companies are screwing people out of vacation time by not giving them 3 weeks or 2 weeks, but unlimited. Does unlimited PTO matter to you as a Gen Zer?
See, okay, so I am relatively new to the workforce. I'm 20 years old. The job that I work in now is my very first technical job ever. Before this, I was working fast food. So
you broke into cyber.
Yay!
Yay, Natalie.
All thanks to Natalie. Completely all thanks to Natalie.
It's all thanks to your brain. You landed that job. You earned that job. That's what it came down to.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
But yeah, I am relatively new. So I've never like put that much thought into how I would go about vetting that. Because I've never seen a company that does offer unlimited PTO. But I think that it's not so important because I feel like having unlimited PTO puts pressure on you to be there rather than having a set number of days that you can take. It can't be like 2 days a year. Like that's not going to work. But having at least some sort of range, like some sort of boundary, makes me feel comfortable taking days in that boundary. If I had an unlimited boundary, I feel like, I don't know, there would be some sort of stigma if I started taking more days than other people. So I'd start to compare myself to, okay, how many days did you take? How many days did you take? When do people start talking about this? So I feel like having a set number is a lot more comfortable because I know that I am 100% within my right to take days from this number that I have agreed upon.
Can I just add in here? When Molly came on, she was an intern when she came onto my team. And she didn't have PTO days because who gives interns PTO days? Like, not a lot of companies will right off the bat. But I made sure that she knew, like, she had amount of days that I would, like, let her, whatever you needed to take off, you take off, girl. Like, you do you. You are an intern for a reason, and that's why it's so flexible. And then, you know, after her first year review, we gave her a week of PTO that she could use because I felt that she needed that week. Like, I argued that she deserved that week. She's only part-time during the school year. And she's full-time though in the summer and in winter breaks and stuff. So like I said, she needs at least a week. And then she said, am I limited to that week? And I said, absolutely not. Like, you need to take off. That's fine. But I want to make sure that you're getting paid for at least a week
Right.
You know, and that will go up as she continues to take on more responsibilities and stuff. So like
Right.
that's the things that like you have to look out for your people as a leader of of Gen Z, because if you don't take care of them, they will never take care of you, and they will never trust you, and they won't go to bat for you.
And they'll walk off your job.
Yeah, they'll walk off. Well, and she Molly hit on a very important point about, there's a stigma that if she takes too many days, it makes her think one way versus having the set amount of time. Because I'm seeing, from both sides, from the business side, how it's like costly and not costly. But not only that, for Gen Z, who has her number one thing is mental health. So how is unlimited PTO going to help her versus 2 weeks off? So I just wanted that. Because this is going to be something that Gen Z is going to run into, because companies are doing it more and more, but some are also getting rid of it.
You know what? We've referenced the unlimited PTO thing a number of times in other episodes. So I think this is going to be its own episode. We'll have Molly back to talk about it from the Gen Z perspective. So unlimited PTO episode is going to come, so we don't have to feel like we have to exhaust this topic right now. But we'll do that in the future. We'll get that on the books for you guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, what were you going to say?
Oh, the thing is, Gen Z is also a generation of chronic overthinkers. Every single one of us. We overthink literally everything. It's just how it's always been for us growing up online, and like, oh, should I post this? Should I post that? How is somebody going to react? Like we're very peer-to-peer feedback based, and it gives us anxiety sometimes. That's also why mental health matters. So like, just to say one last thing on the unlimited PTO, like, if you give us an unlimited amount of days, we are going to overthink what we take. 100%, we will overthink it.
I'm a recovering overthinker, so I get it.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. Thank you. It's really helpful. And
yeah, I have noticed that in your generation as well. Like, you guys kind of do have a lot of social awkwardness, and again, it comes from that introvertedness, like from your parents. But like our anxiety got transferred to you. And I've kind of noticed, and I'm curious for your perspective on this, Molly, and this will probably be our last point before we do final takeaways. What is your opinion on like Gen Z's capabilities as far as soft skills? Because for me, I had no technical background. I only got into InfoSec 3 years ago. And the thing I floated on was my soft skills and the things that I brought to the table that were not, Linux and Bash and cloud and all these things. I was able to learn those things. But I noticed kind of a little lack of soft skills coming from certain Gen Zers.
So it really is a hit or miss for a lot of us, and it entirely depends on the way that we were raised. My mom is a 100% an extrovert. We'll talk to the person who's ringing up her groceries. We'll talk to anyone in any line ever. So I grew up watching that. So my soft skills with talking to people and just going up to random people are great, but it really, really does differ person to person because we were so sheltered in our youth. We didn't have time to do an experience on our own. We got that from watching our parents. So all of our soft skills are pretty much attributed to what you saw growing up. And I mean, we really didn't go out and venture out, so we didn't find anything for ourselves. But I don't know. I really feel like online is a completely different place because that was our space to do whatever we wanted to and to talk however we wanted to talk and to whoever we wanted to talk. So online soft skills and online communication, stellar among my generation. Mm-hmm. But in person, it gets a bit touchy because I have friends who will go up to anybody, literally anybody, and talk about anything. And then I have other friends who you need to incorporate them a little bit more into the conversation and try to ease it in. Yeah. So I don't think that there's like any sort of set standard for my generation as far as soft skills go. It's really, really is touchy, but online, every single one of us is stellar.
Yeah. Soft skills and how they're relevant to cyber is something we are going to touch on in another episode. So if you do find yourself in that category where you're not really sure and you kind of have difficulty letting those skills shine, we're going to tell you some ways you can develop those in the future. But we are going to wrap up the episode. We're coming up here on time. Molly, this has been such a fun conversation. I was so thankful we actually got to have a Gen Zer on the show. So we're not just millennials giving our opinion on all these things. We are going to go ahead and do final takeaways for the episodes, last things you want to leave our audience with, and try and keep it in a cyber lens. Ladies, let's have it.
All right.
So my final takeaway from today's episode, employers, mean it when you want diversity and inclusion. Have that culture, learn how to market to them. My advice to the Gen Zs is exactly what Molly said. Do your research on, salaries, and listen to one of our podcasts that we've done on salaries. Just know that you are important. They need you, but you also have to reel it in and kind of, play both sides of it. You guys are awesome. Technology wise, you're going to be our future.
Takeaways for me is at the end of the day, you really have to give them, for employers, you really have to give them the right leadership, the Gen Zers, the right leadership. And if you do, you'll be able to retain them. If you're having problems retaining them, it's because you're not leading them right. And for Gen Z, like, keep prioritizing your mental health, guys. Like, that's just excellence. In my opinion, you need to be mentally capable and mentally stable to do well at your job. So keep prioritizing it.
Love it. Great. My final takeaways are going to be for the Gen Zers, just keep in mind when you are looking into salaries. I mean, we're here to tell you what the unlimited income earning potential is and give you a very realistic view of what it's like to work in cyber. But keep in mind, we're all several years into our career. We didn't make the salaries we have today very first starting out. So try and when you're Googling, keep your Googling effective. Google entry-level salaries, Google, the median and the high and the low. Be aware of what the low is, but be aware of what the skills are that people are paying for, and know where you can demand more and know where you kind of have to give a little. And don't forget to, like we mentioned in episode 5, make every opportunity a learning experience so you can propel yourself to that next higher salary. And then for employers, of course, it's going to be break down the freaking barriers, be realistic with your job descriptions, understand that they come to you on a much farther starting off down the line than we ever did. So if you gave it to us, at a minimum, give it to them, but they're probably going to demand more. And honestly, they're able to do it. So don't let me see you out there demanding way more and trying to pay them way less. I will dox you from your friendly neighborhood hacker. All right.
Final takeaways, Molly.
All right. And my final takeaway is pretty much put yourself first, of course. But you also have to learn, as Gen Z, we have to learn how to fit into a team, because you can't do nearly as much as you can on your own as you can with people around you supporting you. So make sure that you are respectful of your teammates and make sure that you prioritize both yourself and everyone on your team.
What about for employers?
And then my final takeaway for employers is make sure that you prioritize the people that you are employing, not the services that you're employing. You need to recognize that they are living, breathing humans with needs, and just make sure that they feel that they matter. Because if they feel that they matter, they will work 100-fold more for you in the long run, and you will have a much stronger team.
That's a hot one. Love it. All right. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Cyber Queens. It's been a pleasure having you, Molly. It's been a pleasure having you here with us. Keep in mind, we love you. We're here for you. We can't wait to see you in cyber one day. If you have any questions about anything we discussed now or in a previous episode, feel free to DM any one of us on our social links, which will be posted in the notes for you. We hope to see you next time on the Cyber Queens. If you thought any of this was helpful or at the very least entertaining, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, and feel free to share it with any of your friends. We love you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.